All right, let's dive right in. We're talking about a huge shakeup happening in the real estate world. It's basically this big battle over secret sales and who actually gets a fair shot at the best homes on the market. Let's get into it. So imagine this. Your absolute dream home goes on the market, gets sold, and you never even knew it was for sale. How unfair does that sound? Well, it's a real thing. It's a practice called a private listing, and it is right at the center of this huge legal and legislative fight. And that brings us to ground zero for this whole battle, Washington state. This is where a massive real estate shakeup is really getting started. So there's this new bill, SB 6091. It just passed both the House and the Senate, and now it's headed straight to the governor's desk. And listen, this is not just some small tweak. This is a law that's about to completely change the rules of the game for real estate in the entire state. So what's the big deal? What problem is this new law actually trying to fix? Well, it all boils down to this really controversial practice, the private listing. Okay, so what in the world is a private exclusive? Basically, it's when a real estate agent markets a home to a very small, select group of people, keeping it totally off the open market. Think about it like this. An agent gets this amazing new waterfront property, but instead of listing it for everyone, they just call up a handful of their wealthiest clients. And boom, it's sold before you or I ever even see a for sale sign. Most buyers, and even their agents, are completely in the dark. And this right here, this is the heart of the whole debate. On one side, you've got the open marketplace. That's where everybody has access, right? Sellers get the most eyeballs on their property, which means more competition, probably a better price. But on the other side, you have this private marketplace. Access is super limited, and that can put both buyers and sellers at a huge disadvantage if they're not, in the club. Now, this isn't just some theoretical thing we're talking about. Big-time brokerages, especially a company called Compass, have really leaned into this whole private exclusive strategy. So why would they do that? Well, for one, it creates this vibe of exclusivity, and in some cases, it lets that one brokerage represent both the buyer and the seller. That's a position that makes them a lot of money. But as you can imagine, it's raised some pretty serious questions about fairness across the entire industry. Yeah, that strategy definitely did not go unnoticed. In fact, it led to a major showdown between some of the biggest names in the real estate world. And boy, did things escalate quickly. Compass's strategy up in Seattle was a direct challenge to the rules of the Northwest Multiple Listing Service. That's the NWMLS. You gotta understand, the NWMLS is the critical shared database of homes for sale that practically every agent relies on. So what happens? Compass sues the NWMLS. Then the search giant Zillow steps in and blocks these private listings from its website, and guess what? Compass sued them too. It just sparked this all-out legal war. Zillow, which is a huge player and based right there in Washington, was a really vocal opponent of this whole thing. Their position was pretty simple. An open market is better for everyone. It gives all buyers a fair shot to compete, and it makes sure sellers can reach the biggest audience possible to get the best price for their home. Makes sense, right? And the Northwest MLS was right there with them. Their CEO, Justin Hogg, he basically said, look, the whole reason our database exists is so that listings are available to everyone, not just some exclusive little circle of brokers and their preferred buyers. And it wasn't just them. Even the state's own Association of Real Estate Agents jumped in, throwing their support behind the push for an open market. They framed it as a pro-consumer issue, all about fairness and equal access for everybody. So you've got these lawsuits piling up, the whole industry is kind of at a standstill, and that's when the state legislature decided to step in and create this new law, all about transparency. And what's really amazing here is that this wasn't some divisive, partisan fight. Nope. The bill to ban these private marketing practices passed with almost unanimous support. We're talking both chambers. That's a crystal clear signal that just about everyone agreed that a change was desperately needed. So, what does this law actually do? It's pretty straightforward, actually. First, it completely prohibits marketing a home to some exclusive, limited group. Second, it says that if you're going to market a property at all, you have to market it broadly, to everyone, all at the same time. And third, it does allow for some really rare exceptions, like if there's a genuine health or safety concern for the owner. Okay, so that's the law. But let's bring it back to you. Why does any of this matter to the average person who's just trying to buy or sell a house? Well, when you get right down to it, this law is all about protecting you, the consumer. It makes sure that every single buyer gets a fair chance to see a home and make an offer.
And for sellers, it means your property gets seen by the maximum number of potential buyers, and that's absolutely key to getting the best possible price. It really is all about creating a much more transparent, much more level playing field.
And a lot of local industry leaders are on board. Take Obi Jacoby. He's the co-president of Windermere, a major brokerage in Seattle. He sees this as a huge win. He actually praised the legislators for stepping up and protecting both sides of the deal, the buyer and the seller.
But here's the thing, this story doesn't just stop at the Washington state line. This whole debate over private listings, it's happening all across the country. So Washington is now kind of a trendsetter here, right at the forefront of a national movement. What happened there could easily be a preview of what's coming for the rest of the U.S. real estate market.
In fact, we're already seeing it. Several other states are watching Washington very closely. They're either thinking about or have already passed similar laws to push for a more open housing market. So, yeah, Washington might be leading the charge, but it's definitely not the only state taking action.
So that leaves us with a big question, right? Is a transparent, open market going to become the new normal for buying and selling homes everywhere in the country? Washington state has definitely made its position clear, and now the rest of the nation is watching to see if these secret sales are finally going to become a thing of the past. Thanks for tuning in.